it would go into fear of being alone, fear in the evening, fear of thunderstorms, and still alongside there would be thirst and refreshed sleep, so that you would be able to distinguish it from other medicines. So if the combination of the patient being chilly and desiring cold drinks and not able to tolerate cold drinks, desires cold food like ice cream, which he can tolerate, and then the refreshed sleep, if these symptoms are present, then you would generally think about phosphorus with all these fears and anxieties and restlessness, which is allayed if the homeopath would give them some comfort, some comforting advice. But in the third stage, everything changes, and it becomes very difficult to distinguish phosphorus from other remedies. As the third stage emerges, the patient becomes overwhelmed by the anxieties and fears. Whereas before they were mild and manageable by simple reassurance, they gradually occupy more and more of energy and attention of the patient. The patient finds it increasingly difficult to relax, and anxiety may lead to hyperventilation, result in imbalances in the pH of the blood. The undercurrent of anxiety and tension prevents relaxation even during sleep. The patient awakes unrefreshed and also with great anxiety, like lacusis, graphitis, and arsenicum. So these kind of panic attacks, which are common for sulfur, lacusis, carbohydrate, graphitis, arsenicum, may come for phosphorus too. Phosphorus is generally relieved by sleep, and they sleep well, and after they sleep they get refreshed. If they have a headache, the headache will be healed after sleep. Sepia also has a headache that is relieved after sleep. But here we have the patient waking up in the middle of the night unrefreshed and with great anxiety. Now, if it is with a severe breathlessness and wants doors and windows to be opened, then we could think of sulfur, arsenicum, carbohydrate, and all such panic attack medicines. You will find many others in the lacusis also under the same rubric in Kent's repertory. But here we see the patient suddenly wakes up unrefreshed. There may not be any breathlessness or such things, but there is great anxiety. Sometimes the anxiety would be about the chest. Sometimes the anxiety would be about something that may happen, like the patient would feel apprehensive. Eventually, the continuous anxiety becomes a free-floating anxiety with no identifiable cause. There is a fear that something bad will happen, which pervades a person's life like background music. So it's like, always like background music, there is something bad can happen, Every possibility is anticipated with fear. The patient is so pessimistic and fearful. A fear of impending disease, particularly a fear of cancer rather than heart disease, but eventually the fear of any impending disease. So they are afraid they would get cancer, they would get some infection like that. Finally, the phosphorus patient falls into fear of death, a panic stage over the idea that death is imminent. The patient feels like he's dying, especially when he's alone. So I have a patient here who was given phosphorus in the beginning. Now we have been giving them other medicines, but this symptom was there. When they are sleeping, they feel they might die. They are alone. If somebody is there with them, they don't have that feeling. There is a sensation of fuzziness internally, like bubbles rising and diffusing outward, or that the soul is leaving the body. There is great panic, hyperventilation, excitability, and palpitations. This is the point when the patient develops a need for company because of the fear that death is imminent. The need for company can be so strong as to drive them to leave his house to find friends to talk to. This is not a need to talk to people about health in particular, as in arsenicum. So arsenicum would go out of the house because they are much worried about their health, and they would want to talk with a lot of people about their health condition, and they would want a quick solution, and they would be always suspicious of what their physician is doing. This is how you know. And then they would call you, and they would demand, they would command, and they would want to meet you, and they would be always ungrateful and unsatisfied, dissatisfied about whatever you may do. That is arsenicum. But phosphorus is just the opposite. They feel anxious, but the anxiety is relieved. And now here the anxiety is not particularly about the health condition, like, okay, I may have this disease, that disease. They feel like they're going to die, and that's it. And so they need to talk to anybody about anything in order to relieve the panic. So they are not going to talk about their health condition in particular. They will be talking anything, but they want some relief. As the states of fear increase, many of the other corroborating symptoms on the physical level disappear. There may be no thirst, no craving for salts, no craving for fish. Now, craving for fish, we have natron, phos, and phosphorus. These are the three main remedies for craving for fish. And here we may not have any craving for fish or salt. Finally, in the fourth stage, the mind breaks down completely. The fears diminish, but the mind degenerates. There is a difficulty in concentrating, an inability to think coherently, and an inability to understand what is being said by others. This is where we find many this medicine useful in autistic people, or people who have some kind of an ADHD or something like that. They cannot concentrate, and they cannot think coherently. They cannot connect their thoughts. The body and mind become weak. The patient becomes indifferent to company and indifferent to surroundings. The result is a stage of senility or imbecility. Another common end result in phosphorus is a stroke, in which many mental facilities are lost. Sometimes I feel like even Joe Biden, the previous president of USA, could have been given phosphorus, because it seems like, he also has this degeneration of mind. But we do not know. I do not know how he used to be before. Was he a very outgoing personality, and as is mentioned before, did he have any of these physical generals? We do not know. But of course, we can understand the inability to think coherently, and difficulty to concentrate, and the degeneration of mind, imbecility, and all those things. And it may go on, progress into a stroke, paralysis. But here we have, he was diagnosed with cancer, I believe. Cancer is also a disease that phosphorus is often given for. The final stage can be very difficult, one in which to prescribe, because there is a paucity of symptoms to distinguish phosphorus from other remedies. For this reason, a careful history of the past sequence of events and proper knowledge of the stages of pathology of remedies is crucial to being able to benefit the patient. Once the essence of phosphorus is seen, one needs only to confirm the remedy with corroborating symptoms from experience. Some of the most useful are chilly patient, thirsty patient, desire for cold drinks, desire for ice cream, desire for salt, sweets, chocolate, desire for fish, worse lying on the left side, complaints generally worse on the left side, unable to sleep on the left side, formication of the tips of fingers, painless or painful loss of voice, and again, the other symptoms that we discussed about the cough and the characteristic stool. Sometimes it's an open anus, sometimes it is dog-like stool, stool like dog stool, and burnings are always present. So this is everything I think about phosphorus as I understand it. And I believe there are many people who have many experiences to share with this wonderful remedy, which if you are a homeopath, you may be prescribing quite regularly. If you find patients who have this anxiety, restlessness, and fear of darkness, and fear of thunderstorms, and lots of symptoms of that kind, which are relieved, usually the anxieties are laid if you give them some assurance. You sit with them and calm their nerves down. The people who prefer company, and people who are outgoing, people who are extroverts, good salespeople, good politicians, they have the ability to convince others, or whatever they believe in, and they are genuine. They are genuine. They are as it is. If they are angry, they are angry outside. If they are happy, they are happy. They are kind of diffusing personalities, and hemorrhage is quite common, and bright red blood is found in most of their hemorrhages. They're people with artistic abilities and intellectually very keen, but eventually they may become imbecile too. God bless you. Have a great day.